I still remember the night when it all began. The glow of the monitor, the hum of my old desktop, the quiet whisper of a dream I didn't yet understand. Back then, I was a mechanical engineer, 42, divorced, and living in a small apartment just outside Denver. My days were filled with blueprints and bolts, my nights with silence. There was something hollow about my life, something missing between the lines of paychecks and deadlines. Then, one evening, while scrolling through YouTube, a thumbnail caught my eye. How to make $1,000 a day trading oil. I clicked. A man appeared on the screen, confident, well-dressed, smiling like someone who had cracked the code of life. Behind him, charts danced in green and red. He spoke with that strange blend of authority and warmth that makes you forget to question anything. Trading isn't gambling, he said. It's a skill, a science, a way to financial freedom. That word hit me like lightning. I had spent 2 decades working for someone else, saving, planning, being responsible. And yet, my bank account never seemed to match the effort. Freedom sounded beautiful, almost holy. By the time the video ended, I was already imagining my new life. No more bosses, no more traffic, no more waiting for Fridays. Just me, my laptop, and the endless promise of the markets. The next day, I opened my first trading account. The minimum deposit was $1,500. Not a fortune, but enough to feel like a commitment. I wired the money, downloaded the platform, and watched as live prices flickered across the screen. It felt like stepping into another world, alive, unpredictable, intoxicating. My mentor, the man from the video, had a Telegram group for students. I joined. His assistants sent signals. Buy soybean oil now. Take profit at 30 points. It sounded so professional. I didn't even question it. The first trade, I made $280 in less than 2 hours. The second, another $150. I was thrilled. My hands were shaking. I laughed out loud in an empty room. This is it, I told myself. This is how it begins. I started to believe I was special, that maybe after all these years, I had finally found my calling. Trading wasn't luck. It was destiny. Or so I thought. For the first week, I won every trade. My account balance climbed like a rocket, and so did my ego. I started dreaming in numbers, seeing candlesticks in my sleep. By the second week, I added more funds. $10,000 this time. More risk, more reward, right? The markets were calm, the signals kept coming. The group was buzzing with screenshots of profits. Everyone was winning, everyone was happy. We congratulated each other like soldiers after a victory. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, "This feels too easy." But I silenced it, because hope, when mixed with greed, is louder than reason. The first time I lost money, it felt unreal, not devastating, not yet. Just strange, like watching a movie where the ending suddenly changes. It happened on a Tuesday morning. I woke early, made coffee, and stared at the flickering candles on my screen. Soybean oil, the same market that had made me a few $100s the week before, was falling. The group signal said, "Buy now." Strong rebound expected. I didn't hesitate. I clicked buy. For a few minutes, the price moved exactly as they said it would. Then, it turned. Slowly at first, then violently. Within minutes, my account flashed red. Minus $100. Minus $250. Minus $600. My heart started pounding. I told myself it was temporary. Markets fluctuate, I said, repeating what I'd read online. It'll come back. Just wait. But the candles kept falling. Long, merciless red bars slicing through my chart like bleeding wounds. When I finally closed the position, I was down $1,200. It wasn't the money that hurt. Not really. It was the silence after the trade. The same silence that fills the air when a dream cracks. My mentors group kept sending new signals, as if nothing happened. Buy again. Double position. Recovery trade. I hesitated this time, but greed, dressed as confidence, whispered in my ear. If you just recover this loss, everything will be fine again. So I did it. I doubled down, and I lost again. By the end of that week, half my account was gone. I sat in the dark, staring at my monitor. The coffee on my desk had gone cold hours ago. The chat group still buzzed with messages, but I couldn't read them anymore. My eyes were dry, my hands numb. The same voice that had once told me I was destined for freedom now whispered something else. You're not built for this. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I couldn't face the noise, the small talk, the routine. I just sat there, replaying every decision I'd made, every click, every moment I'd refused to listen to reason. I realized something terrifying. I hadn't been trading. I'd been hoping. And hope in the markets is a slow form of self-destruction. Still, I wasn't ready to quit. Instead, I convinced myself that I had simply been unlucky. That maybe I just needed more knowledge, more strategy, more something, anything to make sense of the chaos. So I did what every losing trader does. I searched for answers. Books, YouTube videos, online courses, I devoured them all. RSI, Fibonacci, MACD, Bollinger Bands. The names sounded like sacred spells, each promising to unlock the secrets of price movement. I drew lines. I measured waves. I analyzed candles like they were fingerprints of destiny. But no matter how much I learned, the market always found a new way to break me. Sometimes it would trick me with a false breakout. Sometimes it would wait until I was confident, and then strike. I began to understand why people compare trading to war. It's not the opponent that kills you. It's yourself. One night, after another losing streak, I found myself staring at my reflection in the black glass of my screen. The man staring back looked older than I remembered, eyes hollow, face pale from lack of sleep. I whispered to him, "What are you doing?" He didn't answer. He just stared, tired and ashamed. That night, I decided to stop trading. Just stop. I closed my laptop, walked outside, and sat on the cold steps of my apartment building. The city was quiet, only the distant hum of traffic, the faint buzz of a neon sign across the street. For the first time in months, I felt small, and maybe that was good, because for too long, I'd felt invincible. I thought about my father, a man who'd worked 40 years in a factory, who never once tried to get rich quick. Easy money, he used to say, comes with a price you can't afford. I used to laugh at that. Now I understood. For a few weeks, I avoided the markets completely. I went back to work, tried to focus on my projects, tried to forget. But the charts kept calling me, like an old addiction whispering from the shadows. And then, one night, while browsing online, I came across a trading group that specialized in gold. Their results looked impeccable. Every post was a victory. Every screenshot was green. I told myself this time would be different. This time I'd follow the rules. This time I'd be disciplined. I deposited another $5,000. For the first 2 weeks, things went perfectly. I followed the group's signals, set stop losses, took profits. I made $400, then $600, then $1,200. I felt alive again. I told myself I had finally learned from the past. But the market doesn't care about your lessons. It tests you again and again until it knows your breaking point. On the third week, a Friday afternoon, the group sent a message. Buy gold now. Strong support level, I didn't hesitate. I opened a big position. That night, the US released an unexpected non-farm payroll report. The numbers were brutal. Gold crashed.
Like an avalanche. In less than a minute, my account was wiped clean. Gone. All of it. I just sat there, staring at the screen as if waiting for it to apologize. There's a moment right after a big loss when the mind goes perfectly quiet. No anger, no denial, just emptiness. Like standing in the aftermath of a storm, realizing the roof is gone but you're still alive. That's what I felt. Not pain, just silence. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even cry. I just walked, miles and miles through the city with the cold air biting at my face. I kept hearing one sentence in my head over and over again. How could you be so stupid? The truth was, I wasn't stupid. I was human. I wanted something too badly, and the market, like life, punishes desperation. That night, I promised myself I would never trade again. Of course, I was lying. I wish I could say that losing everything taught me my lesson, that I walked away wiser, humbled, and ready to start over. But that would be a lie. The truth is, I couldn't stay away. It started innocently enough. I told myself I was just checking the charts, not trading. I told myself I was studying the market, not gambling. But every recovering addict tells the same story. It's not a relapse, it's research. Within a week, I was back. I deposited a smaller amount this time, $3,000, just to test some strategies I'd been learning. I promised myself I wouldn't overtrade. I promised I'd be disciplined. But the thing about promises you make to yourself is that they're easy to break. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about redemption. Every time I opened a trade, I wasn't just trying to make a profit. I was trying to prove something. To the market, to the world, to myself. I wanted to erase the humiliation, the shame of failure, the feeling of being less than. Every loss from the past still burned inside me like a scar that refused to heal. So, I traded recklessly. 5 trades a day, 10 trades, 20. My screen became a battlefield, my mouse, a trigger. There were nights when I sat in front of the computer for 12 hours straight, my eyes red, my heart pounding like a drum. The sun would rise and I'd still be there, whispering to myself, just one more trade, just one good trade. Sometimes I'd win, and that made it worse, because winning gave me hope, the most dangerous drug of all. One day, I borrowed $2,000 from a friend. I told him it was for an English course. He didn't ask questions. He trusted me. I wired the money straight to my broker. I told myself, this is it. This is the comeback story. This is where everything changes. I traded gold again, the same market that had burned me before. I told myself this time would be different because now I understood. I didn't. Within 3 days, the account was gone. I remember staring at the final balance, $7.43. It was such a small number, it almost looked like a joke. But it wasn't funny. It was the price of my pride. I stopped answering calls from my sister. I stopped meeting friends. I started lying to myself and to everyone else. Everything's fine, I'd say. But it wasn't. The walls of my apartment felt smaller every day. My world shrank to the size of a monitor. Green and red, hope and despair. I lived inside those candles. They were my prison, my punishment, my only company. There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes with failure. The kind that no one else can understand because it's invisible. You can't show it. You can't explain it. You just carry it, quietly, like a secret disease. One night, after losing another trade, I looked at my reflection again. The man staring back wasn't me anymore. He was thinner, darker around the eyes, his lips pressed into a bitter line. I whispered, "You said you'd stop." He didn't answer. I punched the table. The mouse flew off and hit the floor. For a second, I thought about smashing the monitor. Instead, I just sat there, shaking, breathing hard, tears blurring the screen. That was the first time I realized I wasn't trading anymore. I was chasing pain. The markets had become my mirror, showing me everything I didn't want to see about myself. My arrogance, my impatience, my greed. Every candle was a confession. Eventually, I stopped pretending. I admitted, not out loud but to myself, that I was addicted, not to money, not even to winning, but to the feeling, the rush, the chaos, the illusion of control. The market became my god, and I worshipped it with my time, my energy, my peace of mind. It gave me meaning, even as it destroyed me. I started keeping a notebook, not of trades but of thoughts. Every loss, every emotion, every reason I gave myself to keep going. The pages filled fast. Reading them now feels like looking into the mind of a madman. Desperate, angry, lost. But back then I thought I was being honest. Maybe I was. I reached my lowest point one winter night. The apartment was dark, the heating barely working. My hands were cold, my heart empty. I opened my trading app, out of habit, and saw that my balance was still $0.00. For a moment I thought about ending everything. Not my life, but the endless cycle of failure. I hovered over the delete account button for a long time. Then, a message popped up on my phone. It was from a friend, one of the few who still talk to me. "Hey man, you okay? Haven't heard from you in a while." I didn't answer right away. But something about that message, simple, human, broke through the fog. I realized how far I had fallen, how small my world had become, how much I'd forgotten what mattered. Money wasn't the problem. Trading wasn't the enemy. I was. That night I closed the trading platform. For real this time. No dramatic goodbye, no promises, just quiet surrender. I made a cup of coffee, opened my window, and listened to the sound of the city. Distant cars, the hum of life I'd ignored for too long. And for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. It didn't last, of course. Old habits die hard. But in that moment, that fragile, fleeting moment, I believed change was possible. There's a kind of clarity that only arrives after a long storm. Not the sunshine, not the rainbow. Just that stillness where the world finally stops screaming. I didn't wake up one morning transformed into a different man. I didn't hear a voice from the heavens. No epiphany split the sky. It came slowly, like a lamp turned up by careful fingers in a darkened room. I started by removing the obvious poisons. The Telegram groups were the first to go. I scrolled through months of signals, the certainty, the bravado, the screenshots cropped around green numbers, and pressed leave. It felt like stepping out of a nightclub at 3 a.m. The bass still rattling inside your skull, but the real world impossibly quiet. Then I uninstalled the mobile trading app. My thumb hovered over the icon I'd tapped 1,000 times. That tiny portal to chaos. Remove, I said aloud, like a prayer. And it was gone. I cleaned my desk. The sticky notes with price levels and Fibonacci ratios went into the trash. The graph paper full of impulsive lines, tossed. Even the coffee mug, ringed with the stains of too many midnight battles, I washed and set aside. For once, the empty space looked honest, a truce. I didn't know what came next. I only knew what must not. In the days that followed, I found an old habit, walking. I hadn't noticed the neighborhood in months. Now the trees were bare, and the wind coming off the front range had a knife's edge to it. On the second morning, I stood outside a bakery and watched the owner flip the sign from closed to open. Something about that small, steady ritual moved me. Markets never open from the inside. They throw their doors at you and dare you to enter. Life, instead, asks you to show up from the other side. At night, I reread my notebook, the one I'd been filling with the archaeology of my worst self. Every page was an excavation. Fear, greed, shame, the cheap disguises of hope. A pattern began to appear the way constellations do, not because the stars change, but because your eyes learn what to connect. It wasn't the system. It wasn't the instrument. It wasn't even the timing. It was me. Not me as a generic villain. Not me as an eternal flaw. Me as a machine with uncalibrated parts. I'd been trading against two markets at once. The external one of price and order flow, and the internal one of narrative and craving. And every time the outside moved, the inside panicked. I chased relief, not edge. I chased redemption, not process. So I decided to start again. Not with money, but with attention. I gave myself a rule: 90 days without placing a trade. 90 days of observation. If markets were a language, I'd relearn the alphabet. If they were a mirror, I'd learn how not to flinch. On day one, I printed a blank checklist and wrote 6 lines. 1. Why am I here today? 2. What will make me stop? 3. What is the market doing, independent of what I want? 4. What would invalidate my read? 5. What is my maximum loss for the day? 6. When will I walk away, regardless of outcome? 7. I pinned it above the monitor and set a kitchen timer for 90 minutes. The charts opened like a familiar sea. Gold, S&P futures, a currency pair I barely trusted. My palms didn't sweat. Not yet. I traced the swings with my finger and whispered what I saw, not what I hoped. Higher high, shallow pullback, trapped buyers, prior day's high acting as a magnet. When the timer rang, I closed everything, wrote 3 sentences in my notebook, and left the room. It felt like learning to stand before attempting to run. On day 4, A move unfolded that matched a setup I would have taken 100 times before. Impulsive push into liquidity, rejection wick, volume spike at a prior shelf. My right hand twitched toward the mouse. My left hand, almost of its own accord, landed on my wrist. "Not today," I said. The candle closed without me. Price drifted exactly where my old self would have claimed it should. I felt both grief and relief. Grief for the money I could have made. Relief for the promise I didn't break. I wrote in the notebook, "Trade abstinence is a trade. The profit is trust." By the end of the second week, the cravings had a shape. They never arrived randomly. They came when I was tired. They came when a setup aligned with my favorite story. The V-shaped reversal. The late longs trapped. The mean reversion to the 20 EMA. They came when I was lonely. The markets had been my company. Suddenly, I had to call people by their names again. So I did. I called my sister. I apologized without footnote for the distance, for the lies, for borrowing nouns like coarse and filling them with money. She didn't berate me. She asked if I'd eaten. She asked if I was sleeping. Love is always absurdly practical. Before we hung up, she said, "If you try again, do it like an engineer, not like a hero." I wrote that down too. In the third week, I found a book I had bought years ago and never opened. Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. It wasn't about markets. It was about uncertainty, decision quality, and outcomes. One line bit into me. You can make a good decision and get a bad result. You can make a bad decision and get a good result. Only one of those scales. I closed the cover and stared at the wall. I could count a dozen wins that were simply well-disguised mistakes, managed by luck, sanctified by dopamine. I could count a dozen losses that were the price of doing business, labeled as moral failure and punished with revenge trades. I hadn't been a trader. I'd been a verdict collector. Day 26. I built a simple framework like the ones I use to design for machines. Inputs, session context, volatility regime, higher time frame bias, scheduled news. Process. Identify only one directional hypothesis. Define invalidation. Pre-plan scale in/out rules. Pre-commit daily loss cap. Outputs. Executed or passed. Tagged, clean, messy, or emotional. Documented with chart, narrative, and physiology. Heart rate, breath, tension. I left P&L off the sheet. It would return later, the way a healed joint returns to the mountain. For now, I would climb for form. I also decided to trade only one instrument when the day finally came: gold. Not because it was friendly, it isn't, but because it was the scene of my crimes. If I learned to walk safely along that cliff, any trail would do. Around day 35, a friend sent me a link to a small online group. Not a signal room, not a hype machine. Just 5 traders who met twice a week on Zoom to review a single boring question. Did we do what we said we would do? There were no screenshots of gains. There were screenshots of mistakes. Here's where I should have been flat, someone would say. Here's where I overrode my stop. The first time I spoke, my voice shook. I'm on a 90-day no-trade plan, I told them, bracing for ridicule. The oldest guy in the room smiled. "Good," he said. "You'll hear the market better when you're not shouting back at it." On day 41, I wrote my first playbook page. Not a strategy, a page. One setup, one context, one way it fails. I printed it and stuck it next to the checklist. Play. Failed breakout reversal, FBR. Context. Range-bound morning. Expansion outside range. Immediate absorption. Return inside. Story. Breakout traders trapped. Fuel sits above below the range edge. Entry. Retest of the failed level on decreasing momentum. Invalidation. 5-minute close beyond the extremity of the failed push. Management.
Partial at range midpoint. Trail behind structure. Flat at opposing edge. No-go conditions. Major scheduled news within 15 minutes. Trend day with one-sided initiative. I rehearsed the play like a musician runs scales. I scrolled back months and circled examples. I also circled the imposters, the moves that looked like FBRs but weren't. The more I circled, the less romantic the chart appeared. It was a map, not a myth. Day 53, the timer rang, and I didn't want to stop. That scared me. I shut the laptop, put on my coat, and walked to the bakery. The owner had begun to recognize me. "You always come after 9, she said. "Markets calm down by then?" I laughed. "Only when I do." She poured coffee. "Then keep doing whatever you're doing." Elsewhere in my life, small repairs accumulated. I slept with the phone face down across the room. I ate at the table, not at the desk. I stretched in the morning. I wrote 2 thank you emails to people who had helped me before I had anything to repay them with. None of this was about trading. All of it was. At the end of the second month, I allowed myself a simulation account. Not to paper trade every blip, but to test my prompts. The rules were brutal. 1 hypothesis per day, maximum 2 executions, maximum 1 loss. If I broke a rule, the day ended, regardless of whether the next move would have paid. I wanted to starve the part of me that believed salvation was always 1 click away. There were days I followed the rules and would have made money in live markets. There were days I followed the rules and would have lost. I circled both green and red in the same ink. Process uniform, outcome variable. A strange thing happened. I began to feel pride, not at being right, but at being consistent. The pride of a craftsman who can't guarantee the wood is perfect, but can guarantee his hands are clean when he begins. The old cravings still visited. On volatile afternoons, when headlines ripped through the tape, I'd feel the old fire in my chest, that itch to take a shot. I kept a sticky note for those moments. If you must trade, trade the urge. I'd stand, breathe through my nose, and narrate in the third person. He wants to chase because the candle is long. He imagines the feeling of being in. He is rehearsing regret. The urge didn't vanish, but it became a character I could refuse to cast. On day 72, a member of the small group told a story so simple, it glued itself to my mind. My father ran a hardware store. He said any job could be broken into 3 buckets: tools, method, and temperament. You can buy tools. You can learn method. Temperament is rented, day by day,
paid in attention. We sat in silence for a beat. Then he added, "Trading is just a store with no walls. Temperament walks out first." I wrote another page for the playbook. Not a setup this time, but a protocol. Emotional circuit breaker, 3 fast signals. Breath shortened, forward head, mouse hand clenched. Action. Stand. 2 minutes of box breathing, 4-4-4-4. Step outside or to window, eyes on horizon. Decision tree afterward. If loss triggered, close platform for 30 minutes. If win triggered, no immediate re-engagement. Log state. Reduce size if returning. It occurred to me how absurd it was that I had trusted myself with money before trusting myself with pauses. On day 81, I allowed a thought I'd been afraid to think. I might actually trade again. Not to erase the past. Not to become a full-time anything. Simply to practice a craft I hadn't respected. To see if I could be with risk without pleading for mercy or miracles. I set the date. Day 91. A Monday. I moved $2,000 into a new account with a broker whose dashboard looked like a calculator, not a slot machine. I set daily loss at 1R, weekly at 3R. I defined position size like a ratio a child could compute. I printed the playbook, the checklist, and the circuit breaker and taped them to the wall like safety instructions in an airplane. Day 90 came on a Friday. I shut everything down and spent the weekend away from screens. A friend dragged me to a small mountain lake. We ate sandwiches on a crooked dock. He talked about his kid's science fair. I told him about gold and false breakouts and the difference between a nudge and a shove in price action. "Sounds like you're describing people," he said. "I am," I answered. Monday morning, I woke before my alarm. I brewed coffee. I cleaned my glasses. I set the kitchen timer and opened the platform like a man stepping into a familiar church without the tremor of superstition. Nothing happened for 20 minutes. The market breathed. So did I. Then, the play appeared. Not perfect, not cinematic, but legible. An early push above Friday's high, immediate absorption. A reluctant slide back inside the prior range. My hypothesis wrote itself. Failed breakout, target the middle. I checked the no-go conditions. No major news in 15 minutes. Volatility within normal bounds. I measured the invalidation. A 5-minute close above the wick. The risk came to 10 ticks. Cheap for gold. I clicked once. One contract, one plan. The first minute I felt the old animal stir. I pressed my feet to the floor and lengthened my exhale. Price pulled in my favor, then hesitated. I took a partial at the midpoint because the sheet told me to, not because fear did. Price rotated, threatened to reclaim the high. For a second, my chest tightened. Then the candle closed below the line that would have told the story was changing. I left the stop where it belonged, not where my doubts wanted it. When the opposing edge printed, I was flat. The P&L said something small, almost insulting to the ego that once chased resurrection. But on the graph above my desk, a different number flashed. 1/1 on following the plan. I wrote clean in the margin and underlined it. Then I closed the platform and went for a walk. The city felt the same. I didn't. Not like a victor,
I hadn't beaten anything, more like a man who had found the door he kept walking past because the wrong voice told him it wasn't his. Over the next weeks, there were losing days. One trade that fit, then failed. Another day when the first loss made the second setup feel like revenge. So I passed, and spent the afternoon annoyed but intact. The wins were smaller than the stories on social media. The losses were smaller than my past. The equity curve looked like a staircase a child might draw. Uneven steps, trending up because each step had the same height. When someone asked how it was going, I said, "I'm keeping promises." It sounded trite, but it was the only honest metric. My account balance mattered. My capacity to meet myself mattered more. On a gray Thursday, after a morning trade that stopped out without drama, I brewed tea and opened my notebook to a blank page. I wrote a paragraph I didn't know I'd been carrying. I used to think trading was a way to get free from work. Now I think it is a way to work on freedom. Freedom isn't the money. Freedom is the distance between impulse and action. The market doesn't make that distance for you. You make it, one disciplined inch at a time. I closed the notebook and sat in the quiet. The storm wasn't gone. Storms don't go. They return in seasons. But I had a lamp now, and the habit of turning it up gently when the room dimmed. I wasn't cured. I was awake. And that, I realized, is all the market ever needed from me. There's an illusion people love, the one where a single revelation rewires a man. In truth, transformation is not cinematic. It is repetitive, mechanical, quiet. The rebuild began not with fireworks, but with checklists. I treated trading like engineering again. Systems, not feelings. I built what I called the loop. Observe, decide, act, review, adjust. Every morning before opening a chart, I filled out the intent sheet. 5 boxes: sleep hours, mental state, external stress, risk tolerance, reason for participation. If any of them read poor, I didn't trade. Some days the answer was obvious: exhaustion, irritation, distraction. Other days it was subtler: wanting to prove something, wanting to escape boredom. Both, I learned, were forms of intoxication. The first month of real trading under the new process felt uneventful, which was the point. I logged 40 sessions, took 14 trades, followed rules on 12. 2 broken parameters. I printed those charts and taped them above my desk with the caption, "Here's where I forgot who's in charge." I didn't mean the market. I meant me. I began to see patterns of my own psychology the way I once analyzed supply and demand. My risk tolerance fluctuated with sleep. My discipline decayed after social conflict. My aggression increased after wins, not losses. Hubris disguised as confidence. The market hadn't changed, my calibration had. It was humbling and strangely hopeful. If the flaw was mechanical, it could be engineered out. Outside of charts, I made my life boring on purpose. Routine became therapy. I woke, stretched, read one non-financial book before touching screens. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius sat beside Atomic Habits and an old copy of Market Wizards. Between them, a strange harmony formed. The Stoic Emperor and the modern self-help guru, both whispering the same truth. Control is internal. I cooked more. I called my sister weekly. I walked without headphones. These weren't acts of virtue, they were acts of survival. The more structure I built in life, the less chaos trading could weaponize. By the 3rd month, something new appeared in my data. Consistency. Not profits, Not yet, but stability. The drawdowns were shallow, the variance manageable. I could predict my worst day's damage before it happened, and it never exceeded that boundary. That predictability felt like dignity. One evening, while reviewing trades, I noticed a pattern. My best decisions happened when I took one trade per day, the first that matched my plan, and then walked away. Every extra attempt reduced quality. The insight was statistical but spiritual. Restraint produces clarity. So I formalized it. One good trade a day. A rule so simple it felt childish, but it changed everything. The discipline bled into other parts of life. I stopped chasing people who didn't reciprocate. I stopped checking my phone for validation. I learned that the same muscle that closes a losing trade is the one that ends a toxic conversation. Discipline isn't an act. It's a language. Around that time, I began writing public journal entries under a pseudonym. Short reflections about process, emotion, and rebuilding after loss. I didn't post screenshots or profits. I wrote about fear, overconfidence, and the strange intimacy of facing uncertainty. The messages came slowly at first, then more. Strangers wrote, "I thought I was the only one who felt this way." It reminded me that failure shared becomes lighter, that even traders, those lonely soldiers of modern capitalism, are still human beings trying to understand risk. One message stood out. "You make trading sound like therapy. Is it really that deep?" I replied, "Only if you want it to heal you." The rebuild wasn't linear. Some weeks I felt like a monk. Other weeks I regressed, chasing impulsive trades, overanalyzing losses, forgetting that control is a practice, not a state. But instead of spiraling, I recovered faster. I had systems now. Systems catch you before cliffs. One Friday, I lost 3 trades in a row. Each was within plan. Each executed cleanly. The total loss equaled 1.8 R, my daily max. Old me would have fought the urge to get it back. New me stood, closed the platform and drove to the lake. The water was still. The air, sharp. I breathed and said out loud, "You did your job." It felt absurdly peaceful. To lose well. That night I wrote, "The goal is not to avoid losing. The goal is to lose correctly." The next Monday I gained back less than half. But it didn't matter. The equity curve had stopped being the story. The story was me following process, regardless of weather. The slope of the curve, like the slope of my life, was gentle and upward. Half a year later, I realized I'd built something more valuable than a trading edge. A life edge. I could handle uncertainty without panic. I could endure boredom without sabotage. I could lose without crumbling, win without arrogance, and rest without guilt. All of that bled into who I was outside the charts. I laughed more, slept deeper, said no more easily. Trading had become my mirror, but this time the reflection wasn't distorted by ego.
One Sunday morning, I revisited the old notebooks, the chaotic ones. I flipped through the pages of fear, anger, mania. Then I reached the new volumes. Clean, methodical, patient. The contrast was stunning. It was like reading two different men. In the margin of the latest entry, I wrote, "Recovery is not returning to who you were. It's becoming someone who can't go back." At the end of that year, my small account had doubled. Not because I found a secret, but because I stopped needing one. Consistency bred results the way time turns seeds into trees. Invisibly, slowly, inevitably. I withdrew a portion of the profits, not much, and bought a simple watch. On the back I had it engraved, "Follow the plan." It wasn't a trophy, it was a reminder that time moves one way, and so should. When people talk about recovery, they like to imagine a finish line, a moment when the pain dissolves, the lesson crystallizes, and the hero walks into the sunset, wiser and untouchable. I used to believe that too, but now I know there is no finish line. There is only awareness, renewed each day, and the choice of what to do with it. It has been 3 years since that first trade. 3 years since I sat in the dark with an empty account and a heart full of noise. The screens are still here. So am I. The difference is the silence between us. It is not heavy anymore. I trade less now. Sometimes once a week, sometimes not at all. The charts no longer call to me like sirens. They wait, patient, indifferent, as if to say, "When you are ready." And I am, but on my terms. Most mornings begin the same. Coffee, walk, read, a quiet half hour before the charts. I still use my checklist, still run my loop, still whisper the same phrase before I click. Respect the risk. It isn't superstition. It's gratitude disguised as caution. Because every trade, win or lose, is a conversation with uncertainty. And uncertainty, I've learned, is just life wearing numbers. Sometimes I think back to the man I was. The one chasing freedom, mistaking movement for progress, confusing noise for meaning. He wanted to conquer the market. He thought victory meant money, and money meant safety. But safety doesn't come from control. It comes from acceptance. The market didn't change me. It exposed me. It showed me who I really was when no one was watching. Impatient, fearful, proud, desperate to prove I mattered. It stripped away the masks I'd worn for decades. And when everything else was gone, the ego, the savings, the illusion, what remained was the simplest, hardest truth. I was the risk all along. That realization didn't break me. It built me. Now, when new traders message me, they always ask the same question: how do you win? I never talk about indicators. I talk about endurance. I tell them the market is not a puzzle to be solved, but a mirror to be understood. I tell them that success isn't about mastering entries and exits. It's about mastering exits from your own impulses. that no strategy will save you from yourself if you refuse to listen to your own limits. And I tell them this: the goal is not to beat the market. The goal is to stop letting it beat the part of you that still believes every loss defines your worth. Most don't want to hear that. They're looking for a shortcut, a signal, a secret. But there isn't one. The only secret worth knowing is this: discipline is freedom. Patience is wealth. And self-awareness is the rarest currency of all. Sometimes, when the afternoon light falls just right across my desk, I look at the old watch I bought that year. Follow the plan engraved on its back. It's scratched now, but I keep it close. It reminds me that time is the only market that never retraces. You either waste it or invest it. In yourself, in others, in the small, ordinary moments that make the rest worthwhile. Last week I closed my laptop early and drove to the mountains. No charts, no signals, no noise. Just the hum of the engine, the cold wind through the window, the smell of pine. I parked by a frozen lake and stood there for a long time, listening to the world move without me. For once, I didn't feel the need to measure it. I realized then that trading, for all its chaos and cruelty, had given me something beautiful. Not money, not status, but awareness. It taught me how to lose without collapsing, how to wait without suffering, how to act without begging for certainty. It taught me that control is not about predicting the outcome, but accepting the possibility of being wrong and still showing up anyway. There's a saying among traders: you either win or you learn. But that's incomplete. You only learn when you're willing to lose honestly. Most people don't lose honestly. They blame, they hide, they double down. I did too, until the cost became unbearable. Now, I lose honestly. And because of that, I live honestly. It's the same skill, just applied to different charts. If you've made it this far, maybe you see yourself somewhere in my story. Maybe you're still chasing that one perfect setup. Or maybe you're standing at the edge of your own cliff, wondering if it's worth another try. I can't tell you what to do. No one can. Trading, like life, isn't a path you're led down. It's one you walk alone. But if I could offer one piece of advice, the only one that still holds after everything I've lived through, it would be this: survive first. Success is only useful to those still standing. If you survive long enough, you'll find your own rhythm. If you listen long enough, you'll hear the market's real language. Not numbers, not signals, but patience. And when you finally understand that, you'll realize something extraordinary. You were never really learning how to trade. You were learning how to live. Epilogue. Tonight, as I finish these pages, the city outside my window glows with quiet purpose. Somewhere, another man is opening his first trading account, heart pounding, eyes bright with hope. He will make the same mistakes, feel the same pain, learn the same lessons in his own way. And maybe one day, he will write a story like this. Not to teach, not to warn, but to remember, because that's all we ever do in this world. Lose, learn, begin again. And maybe, if we're lucky, wake up.